There are three things you need to start session 1 of your D&D campaign. When beginning D&D as a new dungeon master, we often worry about what exactly to do for our session. Overplanning can be the death of interest in the hobby. So today, I want to discuss 3 simple things that are all you really need to start your first session. So long as you have these 3 and plan around them, you'll be all set to run and with any luck, move into your second game night without any problems. So, first off, what is the most important thing you need for a session 1? Well, you need a gathering spot. I think some may disagree with me on this, but a really important set to where you're going to start the campaign location. You need somewhere good, a location that it can begin. You should consider a couple of simple things when you're doing this. Do you want an active start or a passive start? With an active start, you can force the players into interacting for those that may feel like wallflowers or just kind of want to play the Lone Ranger type of character. A scenario in a city, a dragon attacks, the city is under siege, maybe bandits storm into the country inn. These are simplistic scenarios where the players are forced to engage with what is happening or just fail by not coalescing together. Now, it's important to state that in these situations of high danger, as the first session, you should try to avoid putting the players in a spot where they will outright die. That doesn't mean let them off. Don't avoid giving them some sort of trouble. Just avoid letting them outright die. You should let them pull those stupid actions if they're going to, and threaten them, but do not actively seek to harm them. Now, whilst an active start does get players immediately into the game and forces some interaction, it's more about immediately providing some sort of drama, some kind of incident, something to go, oh no, this is happening. It is immediate world building, an immediate coalescing of the party, sort of less about the actual setting and situation you're in. That's just a framework to everything around it. In a passive start, you're going to go slower. Walking to a tavern or arriving in a city during a festival, or perhaps simply bridging the two and having players thrown into a prison cell, a mixing of active and passive. They can later be released or break out, however these starts always begin slower and allow you to have your players introduce themselves whilst you also talk about the surroundings that they are in. Here, you get to add a little world building and use a slower pace, maybe name drop the town or the faction that they're near, perhaps the country or other small minor details that will help with session immersion later. But, okay, we've picked our starting location, and for simplicity's sake, let's say we've picked the prison. It's the bridging of the two, and so the easiest perhaps for us to start on and start talking about. Okay, what else do we need? A list of names, not even named characters. Just make 5 male names, 5 female names, and keep them to hand. When a player wants to know a character name, just check that list, use that name, cross it off. Easy, simple, and it seems like you've planned that. You want to plan a few guards, perhaps a few prisoners to talk to with some environmental details. The cell door is rusted and worn, the floor is damp, and the simple hay bedding that they've given you stinks with the sorrow of prisoners long past. Make a few quick environmental lines that you can bash out to give the feeling of the scenario. But okay, step 1 down. We have our location, we have some basic NPCs, and we know the environment. What now? Now, we need an inciting incident. If you started with an active scenario, this is a lot easier. You basically now just need to world build why that happened. In either situation though, you need to create something that the players cannot immediately ignore. They need to be able to not just simply go on passively with whatever their introduction was and pretend the scenario isn't happening. So, in our prison, let's take the Oblivion route of the Elder Scrolls. The Emperor walks in surrounded by guards who order us to back off. They reveal a secret passage for the Emperor's escape and bid us to follow. During the escape, the Emperor is slain by a dark cult, whether we help defend him or not. With the Emperor dead, his guards then bid us off to be free and explore the sewers as we escape, since there's no need for them to keep us petty criminals around. This incident has now freed the players and banded them at least somewhat together due to the danger and given them a pretty good look into the world building of the world. They have to go along with it, as the guards are likely high level, and it moves them from the starting location and presents scenarios for combat, as well as a chosen direction of intrigue. Who are the cultists? Why did the Emperor have to escape? Who are the strange high-level guards? Questions that will later give players direction in the world once they escape the sewer below the prison. We'll make this incident because the goal of the incident is to do 4 things. 1. Band the players together. 2. World build for beyond simply this small location. We want players to be interested in exploring what else is out there. 3. Create movement. Even if the players are ultimately going to return to the town, or that the prison was in, or that the tavern was in, or whatever starting location it is in, immediately after they've dealt with the threat that we have presented, we've still created movement. We've still forced the player to interact with the world. They explore a sewer, wander a street, or end up outside the city, then go back. Their first action has already happened, and thus they have already engaged with the world on their first step. It has got them interacting beyond simply passively waiting for the plot to happen. 4. Create an illusion of a wider world. Oftentimes the first thing that happens is that people feel they need to immediately relate something to the endgame villain, but this doesn't have to be the case. An inciting incident could be a fight with a loan shark gang or debt collectors kicking one player out of their house, or wild beasts rampaging through the city, or passing a number of goblins that are attacking a trader. None of these are major villainous moments, but could be connected to that if you want to. What they do is present this moment of drama. They expand the world and give a sense of life to the first scene. They give this idea that, where did this threat come from? How did this beast get free? Where are these goblins from? They're clearly not from town. Why are the loan sharks pursuing this gentleman? These are all things that build up more than simply the starting location that you were in. They make you think about other characters, and that is the goal of the inciting incident, to make you think about more than simply where you currently are. Number 3, and our final need. The third thing that we need are points of interest. Barring your starting location and its basic outliers for a tavern or prison, the town it's within, and perhaps that named country, you need 3 points of interest. If we're starting in a small medieval town and we're doing the tavern setup, okay, we have the tavern and we have the name of the tavern, the name of the town, and probably the name of the country. But we need more than just that. So, okay, 3 points of interest that the players might want to go to within the town. Well, obviously, there's a merchant. So 1 point of interest would be a merchant shop. The merchant could be a fairly interesting character of themselves. Perhaps they're a wizard or a travelling trader who sells all sorts of fanciful things, knows more about the world in general. Or maybe it's just a general store and they have knowledge of the various characters in town. But that's 1. Next up, a threat. You should always have 1 point of interest be a threat. What danger does the town hold? Are the guards corrupt? Is there a street that we can't go down because muggings occur? Perhaps the threat isn't within the town, but is a mine nearby that's overrun by kobolds. That is point 2. A danger. Something for the players to head towards. If the inciting incident hasn't immediately forced combat, you probably want a threat point of interest to be prominently held so they have something to go and do, something to engage with the core mechanics of their class. Or just something that NPCs can request they deal with and get brought up in conversation and rumours. It's simply like that. Point of interest 3. Intrigue. We may need something interesting. Perhaps there's a show out of town, or a circus, a theatre troupe. Maybe the local nobility are heading into town on a certain night of the evening and they're going to greet people in a parade. What opportunities might that present? Or perhaps this town was on the coast, and on the 3rd night a ship sails in, offering passage to a distant kingdom or city further down the coast. Perhaps they're bringing in trade, perhaps they're bringing in adventurers. The point of this all is making 3 points of interest that your players could hear about and head towards, that they could actively move forwards and go to, because oftentimes we fall into the trap of thinking our open world scenarios are fun. We've made this town, put little dotted names on it, they'll go to anywhere. Players who've just got into your game are likely just going to sit around and sort of wait for something to happen. You need to give them little breadcrumbs, little reasons to explore and to look around the world. You need to give them a little sense of direction, and points of interest are that. They are probably not the only things in the town or the area, but They're the things that you pop out. They're the things that you have NPCs mention. They're the things that you point towards to get them to start doing that open world exploration, to start being like, oh, there's a thing down the street, I want to go see all that is. They'll learn that from going to points of interest. That is the point of them. So make sure you have at least 3 of those. To further expand upon it, merchant points of interest are to create discussions. Players like to chat and fuss over things they can buy with gold. Danger points of interest are to create threat for the players or just beloved NPCs. If the players start to like a tavern keep or a town they're in, they're pretty likely to go and fight the nearby kobolds that are threatening them because, well, the NPC might be in danger. The town might get attacked. So they need to deal with that. Or just make money. With the intrigue point of interest, the number one goal is always world building. We want characters to be interested in more than just the starting location. Bang on that again and again and again. With each of these phases, 1, 2 and 3, we've now made enough for a basic setting to start the campaign. We've built something that will encourage the players to go from the starting location to one of these points. They have an incident of something that will happen, which will hopefully force them to band together, even temporarily, and it's forced them to move and possibly start to move away from the starting area. Now, you might say, that's it? That's all we've done for the first session? And I would say, yeah, that's all you need to do. Don't get me wrong. To keep it going, you'll have to stay on track and build more upon this foundation. But what we've created is that solid foundation for a first session, with some interesting points towards the world, if done right, should make enough for it to galvanise everyone, get them out of that awkward phase of barely acknowledging each other, and move on. What you have to remember when planning sessions is that for some parties, they're just going to spend a lot of it talking and planning. So you shouldn't over-prep. You can always come in as well as an NPC and engage in those moments. You can be a part of it. So spread yourself with enough room to build a little bit of a runway. Don't over-plan. That's all. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I hope that was in some sense useful for you. I've read a few newer players and DMs in the comments of the past videos, so I hope that this maybe offers some help. And if you have any questions or topics you would like to me to talk about in the future, then hit me up. I would love to try and be more specific. I would love to try and give my own thoughts and experience on those kinds of areas that you're interested in. So let me know. But again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.